Arsenal 4, Wigan 0, on to the next round in the FA Cup. Job done thanks to a blistering first half, and then we managed the way through the second half to see it all through. Plenty to talk about, including standout performances from Eze and Norgard. So let's get into it all. This is the Real Arsenal Deal podcast. Hello and welcome back to the Real Arsenal Deal podcast. Rav here as always. How are you all today? Wherever you are in the world, I hope you're well. I'm recording this bright and early on Melbourne, Monday morning time, Australian time. It is very, very sunny. Going to be another warm day here in Melbourne. And I'm here to talk about what we've just witnessed in the FA Cup. Arsenal comfortably through against Wigan 4-0 in the FA Cup. I think I should just get this disclaimer out of the way now. Everything that I'm going to discuss about the game, performances, tactics, you all need to look at it through the lens of that this is a pretty average team we're up against. I believe, if I read correctly, they're 22nd on the table in League One. I did a double take then because I was just wondering how many teams are there in the lower leagues. I'm not quite sure if that was correct, but someone please tell me if I'm wrong. So the point I'm trying to make is that they're obviously not at the level, not a Premier League level, obviously, and the performances that we see in some of the space we're able to exploit. You don't get that in the Premier League. I understand the shots that we're able to take, even from open play, it's very, very different. So please just getting that disclaimer out of the way now so I don't have to caveat every single point I make in terms of the passes we've seen from Norgard and Eze. It's just easier to get that out of the way now. I know you can only come up against who you play against. You know, we can't control the oppositions. All we can do is focus on our game, our approach, our tactics, our intensity, our attitude and mindset. And in terms of all of that, what I saw today from Arsenal was exceptional. It was professional. It was mature. We played within ourselves as well in that second half, which is understandable because there's the schedule, as I've quite often said, and I'm sure you've all experienced too. It's unrelenting. There's a lot of fatigue at the moment across the game. I'm not just talking about from an Arsenal point of view, but you see, I mean, the players are being run into the ground almost by the volume of football, and through fatigue comes fatigue-related decisions and injuries and mistakes. And the workload is quite taxing. So it was very pleasing from that respect that we could go and kill the game off early. In fact, I think all 4 goals were scored in about 27, 28 minutes. So from there, effectively, the game was done, if that makes sense. You can't take anything for granted, I know. But the likelihood of Wigan coming back from 4-0 down in the second half was pretty minimal. Let's put it that way. So Arsenal could use that to our advantage. We could shift gears, just manage our way through, make sure there's no major injuries. I know there are a couple of niggles that I'll come to a little bit later in this recording. But effectively, in terms of a general summary, it all pretty much went to plan for Arsenal. So with all that being said now, it's a good time to talk about the match itself, talk about the game. I'll try and break this down into just a selection as well, because Arteta's made a number of changes, thankfully, for this one. I want to talk about performances of individuals, goals, and then I think what I'll say for the end of this particular recording, just a general sense of where Arsenal are poised, the landscape currently. We've got a big week ahead now as we turn our attention back to the Premier League after this. So I'll approach it in terms of structure that way. So on the match itself, look, I think we knew we needed to make wholesale changes. This is an opportunity to rest and rotate. In terms of priority for me, I didn't want Rice or Zubimendi anywhere near this one. I didn't want Timber anywhere near this one. Gabriel, they played a lot of football. I won't get into the whole Timber thing again because you've probably heard me, if you're familiar with my channel, you probably heard me bang on about that enough, how much football he's playing, and White is sitting there on the bench. And I think that really came back to haunt us in the closing 15 minutes. Against Brentford. It's been nagging at me since in terms of what could have been, because that whole right-hand side with Odegaard's injury, Saka, he should not have played. I think I said it at the time and I remain steadfast in that he just wasn't ready, and maybe we're better off leaving Madueke on. It just, some of those components you can manage through, but in terms of Timber flagging, Odegaard injured, Madueke being taken off after scoring a goal and Saka being undercooked, we just really had nothing, no outlet. We had no way through. And unfortunately, Brentford, to their absolute credit, they took full advantage. Every time we tried to come out, they would just win the ball back and would go straight back in. It was a very chaotic game, and it was just unfortunate. We had someone sitting there like Ben White on the bench who could have made a difference. But anyway, enough about that. White started as expected. Timber nowhere to be seen. Saliba started. I think that was the original plan, actually, wasn't it? Yes, it was Calafiori who was named. Another injury in the warm-up. I'm not quite sure how many that is this season. It's a lot. I don't recall so many instances of this in my time following Arsenal. It just seems to be a bit of a quirk, isn't it? Why this continues to happen, and it's a bit of a shame actually, because this was an opportunity. Every now and then you get a game like this. You get a game where you can dial the temperature down. It's not the same intensity and anxiety as the Premier League, where I think we're all feeling it. We're on edge, watching every duel, every contest, every minute in the Premier League at the moment. And you get a game like this where you can just dial the temperature down. You can try different things. And one of the things, to Arteta's credit, that he was going to do was Lewis Skelly in midfield. It's one of those things that's long been spoken about. It's long been referenced, but we haven't really been able to see it in a game situation through a number of factors. So it's a bit of a shame that this didn't come to fruition. Calafiori then came out. He was named alongside Saliba, Mosquera as centre halves, Kepa in goal, Norgard anchoring the midfield, which is great. That was to be expected. Eze, if anyone needed a big performance, I think it was Eze. I'm glad that he started. I'm glad he stepped up and took advantage of the opportunity. He looked so much more different. There was a different edge about Eze as well. He wanted the ball. This is not to say that he didn't want the ball against Brentford or anything else, but there's how do I explain this? There's a certain obvious nature to the way someone plays. They command the ball. They're presenting themselves. You can see it with their body language, their energy. It's like, give me the ball. Give me the ball. I'm going to make things happen. And unfortunately, haven't really seen too much of that from Eze. I know much has been spoken about in that Brentford match, that he just really drifted through that opening 45 minutes. And understandably, we needed to make the change. But this is the kind of energy you want to see from someone like Eze, who can just create things out of nowhere. I mean, he's one of the compelling reasons to sign him was that Arsenal are looking for just that secret ingredient, that X factor, to unlock these low block defenses that we come across time and time again in the Premier League. It's been our kryptonite. It's been our undoing. And the onus is on Arsenal to find ways through. And Eze was signed with that in mind, that he's someone who can just make something happen out of nothing. And unfortunately, we haven't quite seen it of late, aside from the North London derby, which I'll come to later, because there's a tremendous opportunity for Eze again in the landscape of this week. But this was a really, really important game for Eze. Very important performance from him. That's one thing that I was paying particular attention to coming into this match, is that how is he going to respond? An absolute credit to him. He stepped up and took it with both hands. And then to round out selection was Madueke named on the right, Martinelli left, and Jesus as a centre forward. So all of those were to be expected. So with that last minute change from Calafiori and then Lewis Skelly stepping back to left back, Saka came into a central position, central midfield, effectively playing as a 10 off the striker. Now, this is, again, something that has long been referenced, similar to the possibility of Lewis Skelly playing some minutes in midfield, but we haven't really quite seen it yet. And this presented an excellent opportunity to do so. I believe Saka would have played in some shape or form anyway. Maybe he was earmarked to come on in the second half because he needs the minutes. You know, he's returning from injury yet again, unfortunately, and he needs to build that match fitness back up again. It's been a bit of a recurring pattern, unfortunately, with Bukayo, and you just hope now in the remaining, say, 3 months of this season that's it now, that he can just have a consistent run at it, because he's someone who we need. This Premier League campaign is screaming out for someone to take this title charge into their own hands and just step up and say, I'm going to go on a run of, say 10 to 12 matches, similar to what we've seen the legends of old do. Someone like Freddie Ljungberg always springs to mind in these conversations in 2002. If anyone's most likely for Arsenal, it's Bukayo. Everything about him screams that he's the man to do it for us. Obviously, he's Arsenal heritage, Hale End boy. He's grown from a teenager into a man now. This is a chance for him to write his legacy. So he just needs he needs consistency. He needs minutes. He needs fitness. And I strongly believe that he's the one who's going to take us to the title. I still remain steadfast in that. It's just not going to come as easy or as quickly as we all like, as we all prefer. And trust me, I'm feeling it too, all the way here in Melbourne watching the Premier League games. If you're watching on YouTube, I've probably aged and have a lot more grey hair than when I started this channel. Anyway, back to this match. It was a great opportunity to bring Saka in, play the 45 minutes in midfield, and I really liked what I saw. Again, without going over what I've said before, it's against much weaker opposition, and I mean that. I say that term weaker with all due respect to Wigan. I don't want to disrespect any club. However, in regards to stature against Arsenal, they're not. You're not going to get that much freedom in the Premier League. That's what I'm trying to say. But still, it was an opportunity to say, hey, give the keys to Norgard in midfield, that he can anchor the midfield and have two ball-playing players in front of him, two ball-playing eights, Eze and Saka, with Madueke on the right. Like, when has this happened before? I don't think it has. Maybe fleeting moments in pre-season or whatnot, but again, it's just a different temperature, different intensity. To do it in an actual genuine first team senior match like this is incredible for Arsenal. It's so valuable. It's priceless opportunity, and they're all so close as well. These are men who have grown up together in the England setup. They're players of colour. They're very religious players as well. They have an excellent bond. They're England internationals. So they have a tremendous relationship together. So to be able to play and flourish on the field together, Eze, Saka, Madueke on the right, this is such a unique opportunity. That kinds of things, the kind of stories that when I look at a match like this, which was largely, aside from the first 25 minutes or so, was largely uneventful from there. These are the kind of narratives, the stories that I look for, that I hone in. Again, not saying anyone needs to listen to what I say as it's gospel or anything. I'm just, like I always say, I'm just a random with a microphone, just putting my thoughts onto a recording and putting it out there to see if anyone finds value in it. But these are the things that I look for. I look at a match like this and think, okay, what can we extract for Arsenal? We know what's on the cards for us. We know what's on the horizon. It is going to be full on. It's going to draw all of our energy and resources and attention. It's going to need every single player, when it's their moment to go, when it's their time, to step up and do it and do the job. So I look for things that you can extract and say, okay, what can we replicate in a Premier League situation? What can we do that if we're chasing a goal away in Europe or something in a big European knockout tie? These are the kinds of little stories that I look for. And in summary, I really liked this. Saka in those areas, you don't know where he's going to go, because he's played a lot on the left too. Remember the very early days, he started as a left back, and even he had some rare occasions when he would play on the left wing when we had Pepe in on the right, and he was a big money signing, and Arsenal needed to try and make it work as much as possible. Eventually, Bukayo took his shirt from him, and he made that right wing his own. But the point I'm trying to make is Saka is comfortable on the left. He's comfortable central. He's comfortable on the right. So as an opposition, as an opponent, as an opposing manager or player, he's a nightmare. You don't know what he's going to do. If he starts in midfield and this occupying those spaces, where's he going to go? Which way is he going to drift? He can cut left, cut right. It's been a while since he's scored on his right foot. I know that. I know there have been some statistics circulating around that his goals in general have dried up a bit. So that's a separate conversation. But he can hit them on his right foot too. He can rocket them in. There's been some goals that immediately spring to mind that when he thumps the ball on his right, like he's hitting the roof of the net. So this is a player who is a genuine handful, genuine world-class sort of footballer who just through one reason or another, he's just had a stagnated 12 months or so, understandably. Now, if Bukayo can come in and fill that void in that central midfield area, this is huge for Arsenal. This is absolutely massive. Like if we can exploit the advantages that he creates, whilst alongside him having pacey wingers the likes of Martinelli, Madueke on the right, we are, touch wood, I don't want to jinx anything. At this point in time, we are fairly, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to use the word stacked, because every time I say that, a cluster injury event happens and we lose a number of key forwards. So at this point in time, we have fit forwards available. We've got Jesus, Gyökeres to rotate in the centre forward positions. We've got Madueke, Martinelli, Trossard. Dowman has returned as well to first team training. I'm not sure how far away he is from actually playing senior minutes. I don't know. But if there's someone that you could take out of that particular winger group and use them in midfield because of the other injuries to Havertz, Marino, Odegaard as well. We don't know how long Odegaard's been out. I've got to be honest, sometimes the silence, the less is more approach is it makes me nervous. I wouldn't be surprised at all to see that. Remember earlier in the season when he had those knee-on-knee clashes and it ended up being ligament damage, that even though it was relatively minor on the scale, you're still talking a lengthy chunk of time out. You were still 6 weeks, wasn't it? Six, 7 weeks? Someone please correct me if I'm wrong. But the point I'm trying to make is all of a sudden is that we've got a hole in midfield, and you can't play Zubimendi and Rice into the ground. Yes, we've got Norgard, of course. Eze stepped up today, which is fantastic, and he needs that momentum because there's a position there waiting for him. But also, we need other options there. We don't have one area, which is a whole separate conversation as well. I've been on record to say that I didn't agree with that decision. I think we were flirting with danger a little bit, like when you start to, when you look. I don't want to get into that whole thing again. I've said it time and again that just weakening the squad. In hindsight, unfortunately, it's come back to bite a little bit. But look, it remains to be seen how long is Havertz out for, how long is Odegaard out for. But right here, right now, there's an opportunity in midfield to mix things up, get that open play chance creation back, get that number 10 position, whatever you want to call it, playing as a second striker, a left 8, a right 8, a number 10, whatever you want to call it, that third midfield option, there's a hole at the moment. And I'd love Eze to be able to fill that hole, but also you need options up your sleeve in certain game scenarios. And Bukayo in there, I loved it. I loved that opening 45 minutes. I was paying close attention to him. Sometimes he would drift forward, drift back. He would interchange as well with Jesus. And it caused chaos. And I feel it was through Arsenal doing things so differently that we were able to create such separation. We were able to create such expansive spaces to exploit. Long balls over the top or through balls along the carpet. That's where our goals came from. So some beautiful, beautiful football at times as well. And again, without getting into the whole Wigan are not standard thing, I also know that they stepped up as well to play. You don't quite often get, if that was a Premier League team coming to the Emirates, you know that where they're going to sit back. They're going to be in their final third, those low blocks. The pass that it played into Madueke, as beautiful as it was, there's probably 3 or 4 players standing in the way in the Premier League. I understand that. I note that. However, what's been lacking from Arsenal of late is that, how do I phrase this? I don't want this to come across in a derogatory way. Just that willingness to take the shot, to take the risk, to play that pass. Because so often we advance into those areas, but we go right, we go left, and we look for a cross or a cutback, and then so much has to go right for us to create a chance. Earlier on in the season, I recall the standout game was away to Newcastle, and I know how amazing that match was in the nature that we won it in the last minute for with the Gabriel winner. And I wouldn't change that for the world, by the way. That was incredible. I watched that so many times. However, what's maybe slipped through the cracks from that match is that Arsenal should have been well and truly ahead in that game. We should have had that game done and dusted well before. Eze created some magnificent chances from central positions at the top of the box, similar to the hat-trick he scored against Spurs in the home North London derby. So on a different day, if it wasn't for Pope, the goalkeeper at Newcastle, he made a couple of worldy saves that day. Eze would have had another handful of goals, and that match would have been done and dusted well and truly earlier. So the reason I bring this up is that it seems to me right now, trying to recall, that it's quite some time since Arsenal have had repeated shots from that area of the box. Yes, we've had a few glimpses lately. Zubimendi has scored from there, but just take the most recent game against Brentford away. We didn't do that. We didn't take those shots. There were some half moments, some chances, the moments that were fashioned, but Rice didn't shoot, or we took that extra pass. We tried to play someone else in when the opportunity was there, and it's quickly snuffed out. Martinelli, of course, we all know in the last minute, but we need someone just every now and then just to step up and say, that's it, I'm taking the shot, I'm going to bang one in, and anything can happen, as you know. At worst, maybe it goes out, it gets deflected and it goes out for a corner, or the keeper saves it, or it could be a rebound. Who knows what can happen? But sometimes that unwillingness to take the shot, it's to your own detriment. And we've certainly got the players, the capability in our players to do so. It's just, you kind of want to see more of it anyway. So the first 2 goals came from beautiful Eze through balls. And that was a lovely touch from Madueke to take it. Left foot, curved around the goalkeeper, 1-0. Just fantastic. It's just a very aesthetically pleasing goal. He's followed up soon after Eze with another lovely pass to Martinelli. Martinelli's finished so well here, by the way. What is it about the cup competitions with Gabriel Martinelli this season? I believe that's 10 goals now, which is just phenomenal from him. Sure, if I could trade a couple of them for that last minute opportunity against Brentford the other day, absolutely, I wouldn't even hesitate, because that's the difference between 1 point or 3 points. But there's something about Martinelli in cup competitions. He's full credit to him. That's 10 goals in those competitions for now. He's probably should have had more goals as well at this match. In the second half, a few opportunities that were saved or missed. But full credit to Gabriel Martinelli. He's always putting his hand up, very professional footballer. He's very much on the boat. You see his attitude, his mindset. He's right in this, just like many others. You look at the way Norgard has conducted himself as an individual, as a professional. It's wonderful to see. Exactly the type of players that you want, bought into your vision, believing in what you're trying to do, step up when it's their time to go. Otherwise, just be a good professional, good teammate, and that positive energy, positive vibe, and always ready and willing to step in when the manager needs him. So that was excellent. So it was 2-0 in the blink of an eye. The third goal came shortly after from an own goal. So good old OG, he's back for Arsenal, doing his thing. I've got to be honest, this should not have been an own goal. Jesus, I don't know, did he slip right at the time of that cutback? It was excellent play. We got in on the right. It was once again that combination of Madueke and Saka. It's so rare to see that they're actually on the pitch together at the same time. So this was a very unique moment. I'm glad they had that moment as well together. Saka has cut the ball back, should have had an assist. I don't quite know what happened to Jesus's feet, but it just went into the defender, who then did come off his head over the goalkeeper. I can't quite recall. I watched this quite early this morning. 3:30 a.m. kickoff. So I'm not always fully across the details. I'm sorry, until I watch the game or watch the highlights again later on in the day. But so that was 3-0. It should have been a Jesus goal, but thankfully for him, he got the goal that he should have had and that he needed a bit later on. And what a ball from Norgard! Like, where does this come from, by the way? He was basically on the halfway line. A lovely over-the-top ball. Again, would that work in the Premier League? I don't quite know, but you don't know it until you do it. Lovely feet from Jesus. He's cushioned the ball down. When you watch the way he's controlled the ball, and his feet are almost like a pillow, the way he's been able to cushion it down right where he wants it to be, lifted on the keeper. Just, again, very aesthetically pleasing. You watch the way he handled that, and you wonder, how did he manage to, why such a clunky effort on that cutback for the own goal? It's just, I guess it's just the part and parcel. It's the nature of Gabriel Jesus. He does things at both ends of the scale, and he's just a fantastic footballer to have, like another professional who's just ready and willing to step in and step up when the team needs him. So by now, the game is well and truly done. It's 4-0 into halftime. Second half saw us, really switch gears and just manage ourselves through. Saliba came off. Thankfully, I reckon that was pre-planned. We've got to manage his minutes too. Marli Salmon, that's right. Fantastic for him. He's had a handful of appearances now this season, and what always strikes me every time I see him is that watching on TV from the broadcaster's angle, you can't tell that he's 16, 17 years old. He just looks like he belongs. He looks like a man, physique-wise, stature-wise. He's not timid. The players gave him the ball. He was very comfortable. Look, I'm really, really impressed with that. He seems to have such a hell of a reputation. Arsenal got a tremendous talent on their hands here. And then he switched over to right back. I'm not sure if this is actual injury or if this was precautionary. Can someone please correct me? Ben White coming off. That's something I'm hoping is just precaution. Maybe he was feeling something, and we look at the balance of this match. We look at what's ahead of us. Do we need to take any risks with him? Absolutely not. Maybe he's just put his hand up to say, I need to come off. And just, I believe he sat down on the bench instead of going down the tunnel. So to me, that's a positive sign, but you never really know. I don't quite know the severity of Calafiori's injury too. So those are probably the two major question marks lingering over this match. I don't think there's anyone else has come through with any new injuries, which is great. So we've made a number of changes as well. Saka came off at halftime. Sorry, forgot to mention that. Gyökeres on. It seemed that Gyökeres and Jesus were playing as a two. Jesus then dropped back deeper into midfield, sort of occupying the spaces that Saka did in the first half. That was, again, something we haven't really seen too much of. We're trying different things because you never know when Arteta is going to need to pull any of these levers come in the Premier League, come the Champions League. So the more and more things we have up our sleeve, the better I feel, just to overcome that sometimes predictable, stale nature that I see in our play in the Premier League otherwise. So in that respect, another major positive. Trossard has come on as well, as I mentioned, and there was a goalkeeping substitution. Remember when we signed Raya on loan and we had Ramsdale at the club, and Arteta, he mentioned in the aftermath in that press conference that he's always wanted to have the ability to sub the goalkeeper. Maybe this is what he had in mind, bringing on Tommy Setford in the 87th minute of an FA Cup clash when you're 4-0 ahead. Is that what he had planned? Was that part of his mastermind? I'm not quite too sure. But nice minutes for Setford. I wonder if this is I'm going to need to look this up. Is this some kind of maybe we're looking ahead that if Arsenal were to lift this competition, lift this trophy come season's end, maybe we needed a certain minimum number of appearances or minutes for players to qualify for a medal or something. I'm not quite sure if that's what it had in mind, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was that if that was the rationale for that Setford substitution. But look, other than that, it was pretty uneventful. 4-0 into the 5th round now. We're also, we're top of the Champions League, top of the Premier League, 4-point lead. We're into an EFL Cup final. So we're placed so well. It's just sometimes I have this nagging feeling, this nagging worry of doubt. And I think to myself, just random moments of the day when I'm loading the dishwasher or brushing my teeth or something, I'm wondering, where's Arsenal's goals are going to come from? Like, how are we going to unlock Wolves and the North London derby this weekend? And look, I guess I'm a worrier by nature, but then you step back and you zoom out and you say, well, look how well poised we are in those 4 competitions I just mentioned. And then, my mind wanders and it drifts off to think, like, is that potentially going to be our undoing? Going for it on 4 fronts, as opposed to, not that I'm saying we would ever just, deliberately throw or chuck a competition or exit the cup matches, because they provide such valuable minutes for our squad players who we know that we all need. But I just wonder sometimes that if Arsenal go to the FA Cup final as well, I believe that's 65 matches that Arsenal would be scheduled to play this season. That's a lot of football, even with a big squad, right? Even with all the investment and all the squad options we have, as wonderful as that is, that's still a lot of football. When you compare it to the likes of, say, Spurs this weekend, because they're our looming opponent, I think that they would have 11 or 12 days off in between their matches before this weekend's clash. Arsenal, I have played twice and will play one more time before then. So 3 matches in that space of time. And I just worry about those things with fatigue, freshness, especially if the game is close in the final 20 minutes. That can be the difference. Look how Man United overran us a few weeks ago at the Emirates. We were ahead that game. And they're out of every other competition. They had a significant break. I think they had 7 or 8 days in between to prepare for that match against Arsenal. And that's where the match was lost or won from a United point of view. They won it in the last, 10 minutes. And this is just the nagging feeling that I have. I'm not saying I have any solution or anything to it, because this is what we want. I mean, Arsenal have the ambition to win everything, and that's what we've all wanted and craved. So would I trade our position against anyone else across Europe? No, of course not. Would I trade our position with United and Spurs as clubs? Absolutely, hell no. I'm not even suggesting that. I'm just purely looking from an Arsenal point of view. Is that, do we have the capacity, the mental capacity to overcome the pressure and the fatigue involved in this workload to win on 4 fronts? I don't quite know. But if you were to prioritize for me, and again, I'm not saying Arteta would ever say this or do this publicly, but internally as well, I think we know that these 2 matches, these are the priority. Against Wolves, we have to go there and win. And we have to go to Spurs this weekend and win as well. 2 away games in the space of 4 or 5 days. If we come back with 6 points, all of a sudden, we got points on the board, the pressure right over to City. Yes, they will have a game in hand. I don't know for how long, because our Wolves match has been brought right forward because of our participation in the EFL Cup final. So I understand that. But to have those points on the board, have a 10-point lead right before City play, I believe they play after we play against Spurs. 10-point lead, and they've got a couple of games up their sleeve, of course, but you've got all that pressure. You've got all that pressure on the board. That's That absolutely needs to be the mindset. We have to go there and win against Wolves. We have to win against Spurs. The players are going to have it all in front of them. And that's why it was great to be able to manage a number of key players. 8 changes this morning against Wigan and cruise through the second half. So we're going to have fresh players available, the likes of Raya, Gabriel, Rice, Zubimendi. I know Zubimendi made a substitute appearance this morning, but you know what I mean. He's basically going to be needed to play 180 minutes as the week goes on. Same with Rice. And so we've got the players there. We've been able to manage them through. And that's the mindset now. We have to go to Wolves. We have to go to Spurs and come away with victories. I don't care how it happens. Yes, we all would love a resounding, comprehensive performance. I get it. But at this point of the season, when you're playing every 3 days for what we've been doing this for 2 months now, we just got to get results, grind them out. I don't care. Plus 3 points on the board. That's all I'm focused about. So on that note, I will bring this one to a close. Thank you so much for listening. One thing you can absolutely bank on is that Thursday morning, Australian time, after the match, I'll be straight back on with another post-match instant reaction. So keep an eye on that, please. Subscribe, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're watching on YouTube. If you're listening on audio, Apple or Spotify, please follow the show. If you'd be kind enough to leave me a 5-star review, I would greatly, greatly appreciate that. Please, it helps boost visibility of my channel. And thank you to everyone for continuing to listen. Let me know how you feel. Did I make sense? Didn't I? Do you agree, disagree? Just please let me know. I read every single word. I love this little community. I don't have a massive following, I know, and I don't pretend to be something that I'm not. But if you're enjoying listening to what I say, please do let me know. It'll be great to hear from you. So until then, I'll talk to you in a few days' time. Look after yourselves, check in with your loved ones, and come on, Arsenal.